angojedza kana uchizaya inonzi kwai failure in diplomacy ka. That is one that we actually saw when Mdara paanga kutaura zvake zvekuti Venezuela is very far away. Zvandiratidza munhu ari disconnected with reality that is actually living right inside his in his backyard. Kuti akutaura zvinhu zvekuvenezuela kubva tangoshuwa kuti maAmericans they've got an air base pana pamugodhitsana apa. Vane air base panapa paseri paZambia. Sorry, vane inzi Josaki yavo panhingi paseri paZambia panapa apa. And then he says, no, Venezuela is very far away. So zvotozondiratidza kuti no, we are being led by somebody who's clueless, who's actually akaona kuti mari anayo ka inomuita kuti ache insular to whatever problems that the country is actually facing. He doesn't actually care. That is why we are saying no, Mnangagwa must actually go zvechokwadi. Because togona kutangirwa hondo tisingazvifungidziri munoziya. Serious. Look here, I mean, that the population, look here, he's got the money, he's got the jets, he's got everything. The moment that America starts maybe dropping something on Zimbabwe, he can just get in his flight and then he goes. What about the population, Maswa? This is what counts. And also there's this mantra, look at your enemy and see actually how armed is your enemy, and then actually try and answer accordingly sometimes. Because you are not even economically emancipated, you can actually strengthen your defense. Saka zvibetseri vheri kana even kana such a speech unoziya unotongoona kuti it's a speech yevanhu vasina basa nezvine zviri kuitika munyika vane zvavo. Before I just came to this side I was just reading something on the defense web unoziya. But defense web they were talking about this Venezuela issue and the reaction of the international community as compared to the Ukraine issue. That's something else people can look into. How much the international community actually act on Venezuela and how much actually action has been done actually on the Ukraine community. That's for you actually to decipher. But it actually showed no, listen here, there's something that is happening here. Even the rules-based order is actually being deconstructed. Because Trump is already actually enacting what we call a board of peace. Something that you're supposed to pay a subscription of about $1 billion. And he wants the United Nations actually to be aligned now to the board of peace. That's number one. Number two, you must understand actually the role that the PMCs, that is the private military contractors actually play in the role of the American conquest. Like in Iraq or whatever, the defense contractors there, BlackRock, what they played. But if you look before, Trump actually did these actions. Actually, one of the persons who supports him is actually Eric Prince. Eric Prince came out and said, let's recolonize the world or Africa. Actually, he was actually speaking in particular with Africa. Let's recolonize Africa. After saying such a mantra, we saw what happened to Tshisekedi, what happened also to Paul Kagame and Tshisekedi. It was actually a direct summoning without actually anything, actually them fighting against. And none of the African leaders actually stood up and said, listen, you can't actually interfere in the affairs of Congo or in the affairs of the Rwandan problems that we have got here in Africa. We as African Union are actually trying to solve these problems. But Trump directly summoned them. And the voices which failed to be heard, and then you hear a head of state actually saying something like this, then you end up saying, no, he deserves whatever you get from the Americans, because being blunt against the Americans when the world is actually changing, we are shifting and resources are actually now the game and the war that is in town. And actually the division of actually moving from a globalized world order to a multipolar world order. I think that was the most grievous statement actually to say, because the Americans are hungry for rare earth minerals. And whoever actually possesses rare earth minerals wins this war. China leads that race by far and wide, because the Americans were actually importing from the Chinese. Lucky the Australians found something, okay, then they know that is actually in their territory. Trump is actually dividing the world into the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. He doesn't care anymore about the G7. He talks of the G5. That's what Trump is talking about. Japan without England or Germany, but with Russia, China, and then him there. England and Germany, sorry, they're not there. There are 5 countries, the Eastern and whatever. Trump is doing that. And does it work for the globalists and the guys who are actually in this race? Yes, look at the way the world changes whenever there's a transition from one global power to the other, from the British to the Dutch, and also from the Dutch to the British, then from the British to the Americans. Then you look also now the transitioning which is happening here. Global hotspots are being created all over the world. Supply and whatever chain, whatever lines are actually being changed, with the Arctic actually being broken there, with Greenland being taken over. What can Trump say? I am taking over Zimbabwe, because they've got an irresponsible leader. If Trump is reacting to Trevor Noah, just a comedian, yet Trump likes to roast other leaders. What if he feels that this is a roast that actually deserves my reaction? I just want to show Africa what I can do. It's the wild west, and people have got to know what they say. Otherwise, the way that, an irresponsible president, and if you read the African Defense Web, talking of a transnational crime hub, Africa is becoming a transnational crime hub. This is what he's saying, the latest news of the Defense Hub. Sorry, the Defense Web of South Africa. That's what he's saying. And the president saying that what we know that in our country, it's just a crime scene. Everything's just a crime scene in our country. We've been discussing for the whole year, be it drugs, be it gold smuggling, be it whatever. Do you think Trump is interested in, is actually enjoying that and knowing that Zimbabwe has got actually rare earth minerals that he wants, but it's failing to align to whatever? Here we discuss about all these things and we say, no, these ones are actually the imperialists, but he has been trying to get that market of the Americans, but he is failing, yet he goes and utters such nonsense and such stuff like that. By the end of the day, if they come for him, we will cry with him, because this is irresponsible leadership that fails diplomacy. Sometimes you need to carry your own foreign minister. Sometimes if you can't answer such questions, and stop putting the nation into limbo by perpetuating and even giving such statements, because these are the statements that actually galvanize the heart of those we are supposed to engage with. This thing of saying sovereignty, yet you don't have a market actually to sell your minerals, and you actually want those people again to be your markets, and you fail to develop yourself. Has been the mantra which actually Uncle Mugabe created. Now we have to think about national interests, not actually to think about the wars that we fought against those who were actually suppressing us.